So if you guys don't know the full story, yesterday a man was shot by ICE. It's tragic. This is not something where, he was a leftist protester, and the left is crazy right now. About 5-10% of them are insane. They are, and then we're going to go a lot more depth on those protesters and how it's not organic at all. A good lot of them. I do want to start out by saying there's about 90% of people there who are protesting peacefully, and that's okay. That's America. I'm not against peaceful protests. Never will be. I think it's a beautiful thing. I'm all for, like, say, the March for Life, which just happened in Washington, D.C., where hundreds of thousands of Christians and conservatives showed up to fight for the life of babies and say abortion's wrong. I'm all for that. And I'm all for even lefty protests if they do it peacefully. What's happening now is we have 50 states. And right now, ICE is in nearly all of them. And yet there's one city, one area where it's getting ramped up. And this is on purpose. It's completely on purpose. These protesters are radical, and they are doing things that is forcing ICE to make horrible, tough decisions, but legal decisions in very difficult circumstances. And yesterday was one of them. And unfortunately, a man lost his life. The most unfortunate part of this is that he lost his life. The second most unfortunate part is that he is at fault. And the evidence is at this point pretty overwhelming. You just do not do what this guy did. Now, what the media is saying is that somebody ICE is going around just killing people just to get their way, get their stuff done. It is so far from the truth. It is absolutely insane. This has never happened. We never had issues with this before when Obama was deporting 3 million people, when Bush was deporting people, Clinton, even Trump's first term. We didn't get these stories as much. Very, very rare. And it was not a focus. Now they are doing everything they can because the Democratic Party is at its edge. They are about to lose their future because their only future, because Americans are rejecting them left and right, is to have all these immigrants come in, vote, scam us out of our money, which cycles back to them in many ways, and just keep this push going on. So it's disgusting. It is atrocious, and it's what the media is failing to cover. So we're going to go through it today and show you what actually happened. So social media videos from the Minneapolis incident was Alex Pretti. An agent disarms Pretti, pulling a Sig Sauer from his waistband while he's pinned down. As the agent steps back holding the gun, a puff of debris and recoil appear, widely seen as accidental discharge from the Sig. Some speculating the ground shot may have startled nearby agents. So you guys decide for yourself, but we're going to go through a couple of these angles. Thankfully, it's not too brutal. So if you have a queasy stomach, in the videos where the guy gets shot, you barely see anything. So, but I do understand if you don't want to watch. But you see right here, he had his gun, pulling it back, and then you hear the shots. All right, this is just one angle. Here's another one. This breakdown is very good. From the Andrew Bonkas show. Video matters in the Minneapolis Border Patrol shooting. Suspect was actively resisting. Multiple agents attempting to compel compliance. Suspect straightened up with a firearm in hand. I'm going to play this video so you guys can see it for yourself.
So the struggle begins. He's being dragged down, trying to compel compliance. Strikes, open palm strikes to the face. There, see the hands open. It's not being punched. Try to compel compliance. The guy who's crouched over under that silver bar, he's going to straighten up. This is when the shot is fired, right here. And I don't see that elbow prior to this point. Go a few seconds more. There's the elbow. That image with the crooked elbow occurs, I believe, after this image, occurs after the first shot has been fired. You see the guy who's not all the way to the left, but he's kind of bent over there. He's right by that vertical silver bar in the windows, that guy. He straightens up here, and right then, and he's got a gun in his hand, right then, is the first gunshot. And then there's a slight pause and there's a flurry of shots after that. So that could have implications for what happens. I hear rumors that this cop's pulling away with that gun, holding it out to the right, away from the suspect as he is, because that may be the suspect's gun. This says, person shot in Minneapolis today by Border Patrol pulled the gun beforehand. The man also had 2 loaded magazines. This is a still frame from the video. I noticed this too. This is the suspect here, the lower body here, just below that letter N on the window. That's the suspect. And you can see his elbow is crooked as if he's reaching for his waistband. So that looks bad. A shot has already been fired at this point, I believe.
Okay. So you guys can see there's so many angles on this. And what I want to emphasize is this, like, oh, there go the dogs. Sorry, guys. No matter how you look at it, and it is clear they took the gun away, and no matter, but that doesn't ultimately matter. Okay, I think a lot of people are missing the point here. Whether or not he was pulling the gun, whether or not they were directly threatened, couple problems. Okay, A, it's pretty clear something went off that spooked the officers. Secondly, is that he had a gun at a protest and was getting up in their faces. If you're going to protest, be at a protest with a gun, you have a responsibility if anything goes on with law enforcement to be like, announce it. I have a gun. I'm not going to use it. Hands up. He didn't do that. Number one. Number two, the other responsibility you have is to stay out of the way, because if you're at a protest with a gun, you're going to be the number one threat. They're already on edge no matter where you are, no matter what protest is. If it's getting any kind of rowdy, the cops are always going to be on edge. Law enforcement is, and they should be, because if they are not, they can easily be killed. It is their training to be on edge. These are almost war zones, not quite, but although it's starting to turn into one. And so no matter how you slice it, if you show up to a protest with a gun and act the way this guy did, you are endangering your life. There's no other way. This is literally no argument. I don't care if you're pro ICE or anti-ICE. I don't care if you're pro illegal immigration or anti-deportation. I don't care where you stand on the political aisle. There is no argument that showing up to a protest with a gun and getting up in their faces is stupid. And this guy did not have to die. Now, it gets even crazier and just perfectly exemplifies how insane this guy was and how unwise he was. But you have here on, this is Bovino, who is head of DHS or working with ICE and DHS, one of the heads. He talking about how the guy was using his SUV to intimidate ICE and get in their way. So listen to this.
Because what you were saying is that he went there to try to stop this law enforcement operation. All of the video that we have seen shows him documenting it with his cell phone, which is a lawful thing to do. And the only time he seemed to interact with law enforcement is when they went after him when he was trying to help an individual who law enforcement pushed down. So where do you have the evidence to show that he was trying to impede that, that law enforcement operation?
Sure, Dan, at first he was there in the scene. He was in the scene actively impeding and assaulting law enforcement to the point.
But that's not illegal. He wasn't Dana, impeding it. He was filming it, which is a legal thing to do in the United States of America.
Dana, let's don't freeze frame adjudicate this now. He was there for a reason, and that reason was to impede law enfortement to the point.
What evidence do you have of that?
And here's a good point, Dana, is the fact that de-escalation techniques were utilized during this action. Those de-escalation techniques, whether it was physically trying to remove them from that law enforcement scene, that active law enforcement scene in which law enforcement were going after a violent illegal alien, or the use of pepper spray, which is another de-escalation technique. Those techniques did not work.
All right. So again, You see he was there the whole time. This is their reporting. Again, whatever you look at, but this is, here's the gun. Okay. And these Sig Sauers, this model, which P3320 by what I'm seeing in the chat, they're known to go off. So this is the other part of the tragedy. All right. They were already on edge from this guy. He's up in their faces doing all this crazy stuff, just like the woman who was shot a week ago with the car, just doing all kinds of insane things you don't do around law enforcement. Now, this gun is known for going off. So when they moved it, dropped it off, it's very probable that this thing went off on its own, which spooked the officers. So again, tragedy, yes. We don't want American citizens dying. Okay, we just don't. But at the same time, this is the kind of thing they're asking for. And I hate to say it because this is just, this is like a bold statement. But unfortunately, I believe it's also deeply true. It's that this is what the left wants. The people in power on the left, they want martyrs. They are trying to let this stuff happen so that it gets to push the narrative against ICE, because regular people see this. They show it on ABC, NBC, Fox. They do it without context, without telling the whole story. And all you see is ICE agents killing an American. And when you see that, it is a powerful, powerful thing to see. And most people, unfortunately, don't ask questions. They don't say why. All they see is a horrific thing. And then they say, oh my God, everybody's right. The left is right about this. The media is right. This is insane. You know, it's insane. But honestly, it takes 2 seconds to critically think through this. But most people won't do that, even that much work. And once you dig into the evidence, it just gets even more overwhelming. As this is part of it. He had 60 rounds of ammo on him. That's not what you do in your self-defense. You might have one clip with you, a couple rounds, but that's it. 60 rounds is looking for a fight. 60 rounds is having a plan. Now, on the ICE, you know, this just shows that this guy was going, maybe not to go blow people up, but he was ready for it in case. He was ready for a fight in case. And that alone makes him dangerous. He wasn't looking to just keep himself safe. No, he was looking for a fight and ready for it just in case. Now, what I'll say is that he legally had his gun, but as soon as he was deterring them from getting the illegal immigrant, it became a crime because he was getting in the way of law enforcement, in which case now he no longer legally had a gun. See, this is a lot of nuance. And unfortunately in today's world, we don't do nuance very well. That's why, you know, shows like mine don't have a lot of people watching them, because people want the bombastic. People want the adrenaline rush. They want to get angry. They don't want to think these things through. And yet all that's happening is a bunch of law enforcement is enforcing the law. And that's all that's happening from the Trump side of things. But what's happening on the other side, and why this is getting escalated, is you have a bunch of crazy people, especially leadership on the left, choosing to not enforce the law. And even further than that, it's not like they're just not assisting. They are impeding and impeding these officers from doing the law. This is very much a federal versus a regional issue, which technically it gets in the realm of civil war very quickly. So this is ramping up on purpose, and this guy is going to be seen as a martyr. And so we're off to the next lane of where this is headed. I mean, it's going to, the heat is ramping up. The rhetoric is ramping up. And guys, we need to be praying for our nation. We really do. Now, thankfully, I really believe the Trump administration knows what they're doing. I really do. I think they've planned for this. They know what the left's tactics are. They know what these domestic terrorists do. And what they have to do, though, is continually try to get the message out so that the people are ready when it comes time to crack down even harder.